some of the best leaders out there surround themselves with the right people that have the answers, and hire. Sometimes, leaders are hiring people that are way smarter than they are in certain areas, and that makes a good leader.
How often have you seen leaders where somebody comes to them with a problem and they immediately kind of bulldoze the person, take over, and I'll just do this myself type of thing? Often you think you have to be the one that stands up and talk all the time. You have to be the one that's, telling everybody the direction and the vision and this and that. But really you don't need to. It's good for the leader to not talk and just to listen.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Lean Solutions Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Brian Meyers, a good friend who is just down the road from us in the state of Michigan here, but he is the founder of Lean by Doing and the author of the new book, The Lean Leadership Action Guide. You're going to want to get your hands on this one. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm excited for you to be on the show. I was recently on your podcast, so you actually have a podcast as well, and that was a ton of fun. I came out to your shop and toured and was just blown away by the work that your team is doing, the engagement level. Loved your stand-up meeting that you guys held at the beginning of the day and was able to be a part of that, so that was pretty amazing. But for those that are just tuning in, can you give them maybe just a little bit of your background, those that don't know you or have not got their hands on your new book yet? Just give them a little bit of history of how you got to where you are. Where'd you start?
Yeah, absolutely. So it all started out of my mom's single car garage, and that would have been in like 2001 range. I was making parts for Jeeps because I couldn't afford to buy them, and I had a Wrangler. So I got a welder for my 21st birthday and just started fabbing parts for friends. And it just kind of kept scaling and scaling and scaling. And eventually it turned into what it is today, which is about 40 employees. We're getting ready to move into a 56,000 square foot brand new facility. And we rip a lot of product out for 24 years of this. I did it without Lean. Discovered Lean about a year ago and just went full in on it and did a full transformation of the business. And what you saw, actually, if you came back now, you'd be shocked at how much further we've made it in such a short amount of time.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, the little amount of time from the point that you start, when you got introduced to Lean, to the point that where I was touring, I mean, I was blown away when you told me. I don't remember what it was, but it was a short period. What was it?
It was 8 months, I believe.
8 months, yeah. I couldn't believe it. So I can only imagine where you're at now. That's pretty amazing. And you're a big 2-second lean guy, right? Is that where kind of how you got introduced? Or
yeah, really what happened was I went to Japan with Mazak, and Mazak's a laser cutting company, and they invited me to come to Japan, and they do this style called Mimta, and it's like a promotional tour to show off who they are. And since I've been a good customer of theirs for a long time, they took me. And when I got there, I was like, holy crap, this is crazy. And we're building a new facility. So I saw this organization and I wanted to bring it home. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be a mess. I don't want to carry a mess forward. My plan all along was to just make all the changes when we moved and then just have everybody just accept it because it's a new building, new place. So when I got there, I started to see that. And then about a month later, they took me to Europe. And I went on an automation tour with a company called Remert. And we went to all these other businesses. I started to see it there. And then I didn't even know what it was. And till I got home, was like way behind on chores. So I started digging in on chores, figured instead of listening to like Formula One podcast or something, I should do something worthwhile. So I did a little searching, and somehow I got onto Ryan Tierney's Lean Made Simple podcast. Yeah. And then from there, it just, and it was like light bulbs going off from what I saw to what they were talking about. And it started to make a lot of sense. Got into 2-second lean that weekend, went through Improvement Starts with the Eye, started just ramming through books. We started with Gemba Docs that following week, and then just off and running we went. It just, for everybody here, it just makes sense. It makes our life easier. It's not a mess. We enjoy being here. The culture's freaking so good. And the culture's better now than it was 4 months ago. I can't even believe I can say that, but I mean, it is incredible what we're doing.
Imagine where you're going to be at, like, 1 or 2 years down the road here, because you're actually in the process of moving into a new facility as well, right?
Yeah, actually just a few weeks. I mean, we're going from like here to here in like one big swoop, and it's a ton of work. We're just burning the candle right now so hard, but no, we know that like all these improvements that we're making into our new building are going to make us so much stronger and so much better that it's worth just dealing with the burden right now to get it done.
Right, exactly. That's amazing. I'm excited to get back out there and, once you get into your new facility and just kind of see how you take that and just really expand and grow from there. That's great to hear. Let's talk about your book, the Lean Leadership Action Guide. I mean, for those that have not got their hands on this yet, I know you just released it, so
Yeah,
fairly early, right? I mean,
yeah, it's been maybe a month since we've had
yeah.
it out. Yeah.
So it's okay for those that are listening in. If you didn't get your hands on it yet, it's okay. But I will tell you, there is an opportunity for you to get this book for free when you sign up, register, and attend the Lean Solution Summit. This book is actually going to be in every one of the bags for everyone that's coming to the Lean Solution Summit. So Brian will be speaking. He'll be one of our breakout speakers, and this book will be yours when you attend the Lean Solution Summit coming up in September. We'll drop a link to that in the show notes. But let's dig into this book, Brian, because not everybody can make it to the summit,
Yeah.
and they're probably going to want to get their hands on this. I personally I just got it in the mail, and I just opened it up. I read the preface, and so I knew a little bit about kind of the why behind the book. But I got to the Lean Leadership Pre-Assessment, and I mean, super simple, great assessment. Talk us through that. Why did you put in a Lean Leadership Pre-Assessment in the beginning of the book? What was your thought behind that?
I was really just trying to drive thought as they dive into the book. Like, what do I really look like? And, maybe as you go through the book, it kind of helps you identify the areas that you maybe should work on a little better. Each one of the pre-assessments kind of ties to a chapter. So if you scored, yourself poorly in chapter 7, then in chapter 7, you can really pay attention and try to take away some good takeaways that could potentially make you a better leader and a stronger leader.
I love it. No, I think that's great. So and this is something that you could take this assessment before reading the book, and
Yep.
then, like you said, focus in maybe heavily on a couple of the chapters. But it seems to me like this is something you could take annually, or even
Yeah.
biannual or quarterly yourself, just to kind of assess yourself and kind of see what areas you need to put some work into.
At the end.
So I think it's a really great, a good assessment. And to, at the bottom here, it gives you kind of, hey, if you fell into the 10 to 16 range, you're just getting started. At 17 to 23 is a solid foundation. And then 24 to 30, you're already leading with intent. So it's again, a good barometer just to kind of figure out where you're at and what specific areas that you need to improve on.
When I wrote this book, I really was targeting everybody who is in leadership. I didn't want to just be the CEO and the C-suite people. I wanted somebody on the shop floor who's managing people every day to look at this book, be able to read it and get some takeaways and develop themselves further. When it came to like what people noticed about me and within the last year, as I've been, more out in the public space, talking about lean and talking about everything that we're doing, is everybody always talks about how good of a communicator I am and how good my leadership style is.
Mm,
And so I really just felt, God was putting it on my heart to write about leadership and try to, give some of the hard fought lessons to people. The stories in the book are super short. I'm just telling a story and getting to the point. I think it's one of those books where you read it every year and each year you get a different takeaway because it's, you're in a different stage of your leadership journey, and, your takeaways now versus what your takeaways might be from a year from now are going to be very different.
sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, every year you could make this your annual thing where you go through this, and every year you pick a different point to work on, or every
Mhm.
quarter, whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, at each year, depending on what's going on in your organization, things could be a little different.
Yeah.
Let's look at these real quick. So there's 10 of them.
Yep.
The first one is you must change and grow.
Mhm.
Number 2 is people first always. Number 3, listen more, talk less. Number 4, stop making decisions alone. Number 5, recognition and appreciation are everything. Number 6, become a lean expert. Number 7, become a mentor. And I'm gonna keep the other ones a secret. You got to buy the book if you want to know the rest. But okay, let's focus in here on listen more, talk less. What was your motivation behind that one?
For decades, good leaders are often looked at as people that can make decisions quickly. And usually what will happen is the firefighting that you have going on in your traditional business, that comes right to your office door, and people walk in and they need you to make a decision. So you often are the one that's doing all the talking. You're often the one making all the decisions. You're not engaging anybody else. You're not listening to anyone else's opinions. And for me personally, within the last year, when I just stopped talking and start listening to what everyone else has to say, we came up with such better ideas than what I just had.
Yeah, I love that. And that actually even ties into the next one, the number 4, which is stop making decisions alone. So obviously, if you're listening to your people, you're no longer the sole decision maker. And for a lot of organizations that we go into, I normally find 1 or 2 people that are running around like a chicken with their head cut off, just solving problems everywhere, and they're the sole problem solver for their team or their organization. And I can see why they get burnt out so fast. I mean, I spent many years as a production supervisor and a plant manager and operations manager. So I understand. I know that things are being thrown at you from all different directions, and there's all these problems that pop up throughout the day. I mean, I'll admit, like, I used to kind of pride myself on being able to get into the office, like hit on my way in. I'm kind of taking note of all the problems that happen throughout the night, and then I get in and I'm just solving problems. The problem with that, though, is when you're the sole problem solver, for one, you can get burnt out, which I mentioned, but also you're probably not, you may be solving problems the right way, but you might not have all the answers, and it might take you longer than someone who's working, on the front lines, or has more visibility or better understanding of that particular problem, who could solve it quicker. And also, one problem solver versus an army of problem solvers. I mean, which one's better, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, like, how often have you seen leaders where somebody comes to them with a problem and they immediately kind of bulldoze the person, take over, and I'll just do this myself type of thing. And often you think you have to be the one that stands up and talk all the time. You have to be the one that's telling everybody the direction and the vision and this and that. But really, you don't need to. It's good for the leader to not talk and just to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point. Many people think that they need to have all the answers. Like, people come to them and they have this, for some reason, they feel like they have to have an answer. And if they don't have an answer, then that's bad. That's not necessarily the case. I mean, some of the best leaders out there surround themselves with the right people that have the answers, and hire. Sometimes, leaders are hiring people that are way smarter than they are in certain areas, and that makes a good leader. So why would you want to be the sole person with all the answers? Like, surround yourself with a team of people that can help, create the solutions, and come up with, innovative, great ideas that you may have never come up with.
Yeah.
Right? What was it like when you first started? I mean, you started in your parents' garage,
Yeah.
and I mean, let's think about the first employee or couple employees that you hired. Was that difficult? Like,
Oh yeah, extremely difficult. I can remember just failing. I can remember one time I was welding. I was the guy that was in charge of welding and grinding, and I burnt my hand or something. And I grabbed this like magnet that I had and I chucked it across the shop. And when I looked up, I missed the guy that was working for me, Jim. I missed him by like a foot, hitting him with this magnet. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? I was just a young, hot-headed kid, and I just I had a temper, or frustrations would bleed out, and I'm just so different now. But this is what happens. You start a business, you don't know how to be a leader. All you do is you have a good idea and you're going to try to sell something, and try not to go bankrupt in the process. And maybe you find yourself with a handful of employees, and you better learn quick how to lead, because otherwise you're just going to have, it's like herding cats, it's like running around trying to get a plan, and you're not delivering the plan. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's learning as you go. It's learning as you do it. And, hopefully you're smarter than I was, and you get into books and start learning younger than I did.
Yeah. Well, and you created Lean by Doing. You
Yeah,
kind of mentioned that Learn by Doing. So I
yeah.
love that name. Talk about that a little bit. Why is it important that we learn by doing versus like trying to figure it all out on paper and put all the plans together and then hope that things work out? Is
Yeah.
it better to have more time in the planning phase, less time, a good average? I mean, should we just get out there and do things? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, well, this is what I've recently kind of discovered is this is personality types now when you're starting to drive into stuff.
Hmm.
You can have people that are really quick to have an action. And me, my personality type, as soon as I have an idea, I have an action. And there's other people that can have an idea and then they need all this research in order to make an action. But what I've discovered with lean is that if you just get started, you're going to make it so much faster, so much quicker. So it's like having the idea and putting it into action as fast as possible, whether it's cardboard or paper, whatever it is, just start. And that's kind of what we did around here. People are like, wow, you did this so fast. Well, we didn't sit around and, get analysis paralysis. We just made decisions and moved. And then we continually improved, right? That's the point of it. It's not plan it out, one time improvement, boom. It's, put it on the floor, try it again, keep updating, keep updating, keep updating. And eventually you get something that's really workable.
Yeah, yeah. So many times, and especially I think it's probably in all organizations, but definitely in some of the larger organizations that I've worked in, that paralysis by analysis is happens so frequently, and you know, it's it's like I understand because nobody wants to put something out there that
Yeah.
doesn't work. There's something inside of us that just wants us. We want to succeed, right? So
Yeah.
to put something out there knowing that it's probably going to fail is almost like it's it's the opposite of what anybody wants.
Yeah.
But the value, the benefits of doing that, of trying something, if you work in an organization where leadership is promoting that, where they're actually
Mhm.
celebrating it and they're saying, hey, great job, what did you learn? Oh, that's amazing. What's your next step? That type of organization is going to surpass the other organizations. You know, Again, maybe they're a smaller company, a little bit behind, but over time, I mean, they're going to surpass because those people are learning as they go and they're developing and they're becoming active problem solvers in the company versus another company that's like, oh, I don't know, I want to wait and make
Yeah.
sure everything's going to be okay before I do anything. I mean, think about how slow they're moving in
Yeah.
comparison to the other company, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've experienced that, right?
You have to make it safe for people to fail. And, if you can create an environment where people are safe to try stuff, and even if it doesn't work, what did we learn and what can we take away from it? It's that the first idea is never the best idea, but it's the most important idea because it's a start. And, you can always adapt, and we're practicing continuous improvement. So let's just start. I'd rather try something
Mhm.
before, we make up some crazy elaborate plan, then we spend money on capital to make it work. And then you realize, oh, this isn't that good, you know?
Yeah, so true. What are some things that you do as a leader to create a safe environment? Are there any, or maybe even what are some things that you do now that you never used to do? Maybe some things that you learned over time.
Well, one of the things that I've really learned is I'm not a really good listener, and I have to be a very active listener. I have to, really like listen. And when I've gotten some feedback from my team who said that I don't always listen, that was like hard. It kind of stung, and this goes back to personality type. It's not one of my strengths isn't listening. So I have to make sure that when someone's talking to me about an idea, I keep my mouth shut. I'm not throwing out my opinion. I'm letting them talk it through, and then I'm just kind of encouraging them.
Mhm.
That one's such an important one. But once one chapter further in is recognition and appreciation or everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, like just sending a message on a Friday to somebody who really worked their ass off Friday night, you just pop off a voice message or a little short video, just telling them how much you appreciate all the work they did. It changes everything. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Like they're like, this is great. I can't wait to get back to work. And they feel appreciated. They feel like they've been seen. And when people start to feel seen, they show up. They show up differently. And I think that's like some of the main takeaways. I always just ignored the people. Ignoring is a bad word. If I wasn't paying attention to you, it meant everything was good. And
mhm.
I flip that around now, and I make sure that I send these appreciation messages regularly to people so that they can hear it straight from me, because it means different coming from your leader than it does, hearing it through a coworker or whatever it may be, or even if I throw it in a public chat that we have or something, it just means so much more when it comes straight from the person, straight into your inbox. And yeah, that's one of the things. The other one is mentoring. That, become a mentor is number 7, chapter 7. I've never had mentors in my life. So I'm very active in trying to be the mentor that I never had, and trying to shape people and grow people and spending the time to coach.
Oh, I love it. Going back to the recognition chapter,
Mhm.
what's your feel on private recognition versus public recognition? Do you have a preference, or what's been your experience with that? What's better?
I try to figure out what people like, because
Mm,
some people like it public and some people like it private. And so the people that want it, that seem to glow when you give it to them in public, I'll do it in public. The people that seem to glow when they get it in private, then I tend to stick to private.
hmm.
So I'm really kind of tailoring it to the people. I'm taking the time to get to know, each person and how they kind of interact, and then I just kind of go from there. And
Uh,
sometimes, even if you don't know, just ask. You know what I mean? Like, just
yeah,
ask them, "Hey, do you prefer to get this in public or in private?" And they'll tell you, and they may be caught off guard of, like, "That's a weird question," but you know what I mean? You're trying to tailor it to them.
that's right. Yeah, that's I love that you answered it that way, because so many times leaders think like that, well, either I'm 100% public recognition or 100% private, or I'm a hybrid of both, and I do it with I do, this is my approach and this is just the way that I do it, well, let's flip that, and it's not so much about what you do or what you should do, but
Mhm.
how they receive it. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's different.
Yep.
So if you know that someone doesn't like public recognition, then stop doing it and
Mhm.
do it different for them, right?
Yeah.
And I love that, because great leaders get to know their people. And I experienced that a lot in the military, where there were certain leaders that knew the names, knew my wife's
Mhm.
name, knew the names of the kids on the, for those of us that were working together regularly, knew their kids, knew, when we had doctor's appointments, things that were
Yeah.
going on. It was like,
Mhm.
those are the people that you respect so much, because they genuinely care. They really do. And if I hate public recognition, but you just keep doing it because that's just the way that you do it,
Yeah, I got
it's kind
I
of a
can see
form
it
of
anyway.
disrespect, I guess, in a way, right? Even though
Yeah,
you're trying to be nice and give recognition.
yeah, it's not about you, it's about them, and the recognition is for them. It's not to build up you, it's to build them up. So you wanna do whatever you can to make the best deposit into their bank account that you can, you know?
Yeah.
And if they don't have an ATM machine, then you better find a way to walk inside the lobby and hand it to them.
Yeah.
Like, just thinking about things a little differently.
Oh, I love that. Love that. That's funny. When you just said that, it made me think about, I was a value stream manager at a company years ago, and this was back when they printed paper checks.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my bosses prior to that used to come around and hand us our check
Oh,
and
wow.
say thank you.
Uh-huh.
And so I applied that, and I would do the same thing, because I learned from them, and I knew that how much I appreciated that. Like,
Yeah,
I know it's
yeah.
just a little thing, but I appreciated the one-on-one, shake my hand, thank me. And, so that was a really cool thing that I appreciated. And I don't
Mhm.
know, maybe that's not something that's possible today, but there are other things that you can do as a leader to try to figure out, what your people appreciate and how to show them that you genuinely care for them.
Yeah, they just wanna be seen. They're
Yeah.
showing up every day, they're working hard, they're putting part of their life into your business, and they just wanna be seen. So even if your message is just, "Thank you," I mean, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, you know what I mean?
Right.
You don't have to send them a 10-minute thing, and you don't have to cry or whatever, but, I mean, the more transparent you can be with your people, the more they're gonna jump behind you and move mountains.
Oh yeah, for sure. You mentioned, I think it was chapter 7, on becoming a mentor, be a mentor.
Mhm.
What does that look like? Does because I think, again, you and I think understand the importance of this, but I'm just thinking of, the leaders that I see that spend the majority of their time in their office. And if anyone's listening in and you're feeling a little squirmy in your chair right now, that might be you.
Bless
So key into this, because the time that you spend, of course, there's things you got to do behind your computer. I completely understand that. And yeah, sometimes you got to close the door, get some things done in private, and that's fine. Block some time for that, whatever. But what about getting out and spending time with people? What about Gemba walks with people? What about one-on-ones with people? Brian,
Right.
what does it look like for you and your team when it comes to mentorship?
So this is something that has really become a thing in the last year, and I talk about it in the book. And where I never really had a mentor in my life, and Tom Hughes, who I met, he's the author of Improvement Starts with I, founder of Gemba Docs. He came to visit us last December and to see what we were doing with Gemba Docs, because we were just ripping with this thing.
Yeah.
And when he got here, him and I really hit it off, and he just kind of filled that void that I never had. And he's the reason that I wrote this book, is because he's like, you need to write a book. And I was like, I don't have a clue how to do this. And he's like, no, you're going to do this. And he's the reason I have a podcast. And he's the reason that I'm out here sharing content, is because he challenges me. And I've never had that. I've always, I always made the joke that, other businesses would be like, if you keep operating like that, you're going to put yourself on an island. And I'd always make the joke that, well, I'm in a peninsula already. It wasn't like I was trying to make connections or help anybody else. It was just what's going on in my building. And, a lot of times, like, there are certain people that I was kind of mentoring, you would say, but it was just because I liked them more and I liked spending time with them. They were more of a friend than anything else. And because of it, they got some shades of, learning from me. But, I have like 24 years of experience doing this stuff. And it's a wealth of knowledge that I can help a ton of people learn here. So I definitely spend most of my time coaching. And anytime I'm on the shop floor and I'm working on something, I'm always pulling somebody in to coach them on something. Like, there's no reason for me to be on the shop floor if I'm not going to spend the time trying to coach somebody. So I make that a huge priority every single day. So I feel like that's kind of like micro mentoring in a way with some of your staff. You kind of spread yourself. And then I really focus on 4 to 5 people. Right now I have, 4 or 5 people that I work pretty regularly with to try to develop them into the next line of leaders. And after that, I'll probably move on to another group, but we're trying to actively trying to look at it like leader, not necessarily like student teacher. We're all kind of equal, and we can, get shades of leadership from everybody. And, there's people in my building, like Chris, for example. He works back in the laser department. Everybody loves Chris. There's times where Chris has mentored me, and just because he works in my laser department and he's not the president of the company doesn't mean that he can't influence how I, go about my life.
Yeah, that's so true. So I want to go back and talk about Tom real quick, and then I do have a question about Chris. But
Yeah.
so Tom, I know Tom as well, and
Yeah.
he's a great guy. Um, I'm trying. Did you mention how you met him? I don't know if you mentioned that or not.
No, so we were doing Gamba Docs, and that's, one of his companies. And we ripped off 1,000 SOPs and 1,000 Kanban cards in like 6 months. And he was like, what in the world are these people doing? Like, they've never seen this. So he flew from Ireland here to Michigan in the middle of the winter, and it was a crappy time to visit. I mean, some snow was blowing sideways. It was freezing cold outside. And, he just showed up on my doorstep essentially. And, hey, I'm Tom. I want to see what you're doing. And, that was how I met Tom. And I got to spend like, I think he was here for 4 days. We spent 4 days together and really got on really well. And then last May, I went out to Ireland and spent a week out in Ireland with him. And, it's just one of those things where him and I, we talk every single day. And, he's always challenging me. He's always seeing the things that he saw the rough draft of my book. He's seen all the rough drafts of my videos and all kinds of ideas. And he gives me a lot of feedback and helps me kind of, I don't know, do a better job.
That's amazing. And it's not like Tom's getting anything out of that. I mean, yeah, maybe you use Gemba Docs, maybe you bought his book, whatever. But man, the amount of time that he's investing in you is pretty
Yeah.
amazing, right? What an
Yeah.
awesome guy. And that's also why I love the lean community as a whole, because
Mhm.
it does seem like everyone is that way, right? I mean, you and
Yeah.
I have had some amazing conversations. Love meeting your leadership team. You came out here to our office, actually dropped off some really cool lean tools that you guys make at your facility. I think I just appreciate, hearing that story and knowing who Tom is and you know, just how amazing, you know, people like that who invest in people like you and now that the ripple effects of that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're doing the same thing with your team, and I'm sure you're teaching them the importance of mentorship, and they're probably mentoring others on their team, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And Tom actually is going to be at the summit. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I heard.
Okay. Yeah, he's coming. So he'll be at our Lean Solutions Summit this year in Detroit. So I'm excited to see him. And we use Gemba Docs at our office as well. So if you're not familiar with Gemba Docs, go check it out. It's a pretty cool application.
Yeah, you'll
Let's
find
talk about Ireland. So you were just in Ireland not that long ago, Brian. Did you visit Seating Matters then?
I did. Yeah, we did. We were there. We did 5 days and 7 shop tours, and Seating Matters was one of those tours as well.
Nice.
Ireland is incredible, and so I've been to Japan and I've been to Ireland, and I can tell you that like Japan in itself is crazy. It's just really hard to make it relevant, if that makes sense. It doesn't seem like there's no Western culture in Japan, so you're like, it's an excuse right off the bat. Well, we don't have the culture for this. We can't do this. And everything in Japan is like so high and so unreachable that it makes it really hard to relate to it. But when you go to Ireland, you start to see how they're doing lean. And it's almost like the new wave of lean, if you will. It's not Toyota lean. It's just kind of this Western adaptation of it, where we build a culture and we're doing continuous improvement, but we're working our way through it. And in Ireland, all these shops that you see are these companies that you visit that are doing this. It's so relatable that you're able to come home immediately and put things into action.
I want to like hold on this for a second, because you said something that I think is really important, that I want to make sure we spend some time on. There's some consultants out there that I see, you know, on LinkedIn or wherever, that are posting about, you know, well, if you don't use TPS, if you're not a TPS purist, if you don't, you know, if you're not a Toyota person, you're not doing lean right, or if you use the word lean, or if you use the word continuous improvement, you're not doing it right, you know. And I think to myself, I always struggle with this, and I might lose some followers here, but that's okay. I'm just going to throw it out there. I struggle with that because I think about Toyota and I'm like, yeah, they're doing some amazing things and they've had some amazing results. But they're also an automotive manufacturer in a certain culture, in a certain part of the world. And, you know, they've been around for a certain amount of time. They have a certain background in history. You know, a company like one here in West Michigan, you know, might not be in the automotive industry. They might not have the same background. They might not have the same history, but they're dedicated to continuous improvement. And maybe they're not doing it exactly the way that Toyota does it, but they're getting real measurable results. Are they wrong?
No.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, you got to do lean your way. I'm very adamant about this, and Tom is very adamant about this. Your waste isn't Toyota's waste. You know what I mean? Like that's just the bottom line. We're not Toyota. We're not running, you know, hundreds of thousands of vehicles through an assembly line. You know, for me, my top selling SKU might be 300 items in a year. So how do you set up, you know, how do you set stuff up? I kind of find like we just we have a very different culture in Western cultures, period. Right.
Yeah.
Our employment laws are different. People don't get assigned to a job and then stay there their entire career. People leave, people come, you know what I mean? And you can't just say, well, it's either, you know, I better do training within or I better not do any training at all. I mean, that's just ludicrous. I think that you really need to look at your people and start to do some of the things that work, and then things that don't work, dump it, just get rid of it. You know what I mean? Like a Kanban is a signal. It can be a signal for anything. It's not, it's not a 2-bin system. It's not anything. It's just a signal. You can use a Kanban to signal anything in your entire factory. Or your office, you know what I mean? And people get so caught up sometimes in, you know, what they may or may not know. But at the same time, like, as I say in the book, you got to become a lean expert. You got to have some of these answers, and you have to learn what works for you. And there's some tools that are out there that are really cool, and they're just not applicable to you. You know, for us, like a Conwhip card, you know, people are like, what's a Conwhip, right? And, you know, it's a recirculating Kanban to hold a spot in production. Maybe that's not relevant to you ever. So therefore don't mess with it. You know what I mean? Just pick
Exactly.
the things that work for you and do lean your way and improve your way and, make it yours.
Yeah, no, that's so true, and I love that you said that, and even using Kanban as an example is a great example because, again, if you don't have this, eh, lean is all about solving problems, learning by doing, right, developing a learning organization, and if you don't have the same problems that Toyota had, then the solutions that they came up with to those particular problems might not be applicable to you. And a lot of the tools were created as solutions to problems that they were experiencing.
Mhm.
Now, if you have a similar problem, can you take the tool and try it? And then to your point, adjust it to make it work for you? Absolutely. Does Toyota give us a good starting point for a lot of things? Understanding what's behind the tools, the
Mhm.
mindset that Toyota had that was embedded in the culture, that continuous improvement mindset. I mean, that's applicable. All of
Yeah.
that makes sense. But yeah, I think, many times it can be an inhibitor if you're trying to push something that just doesn't work. You're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work. And for a lot of organizations, unfortunately, I get into a lot of organizations and, they have a bad taste in their mouth from lean because of past consultants or past internal individuals who try to push
Yeah.
that square peg into that round hole. And it's just the wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
Continuous improvement, process improvement, it applies to every industry, to every job,
Yeah.
and it's timeless. So don't think that just because you're in, whatever, a textile industry, or you're in, you're building parts for Jeeps, that lean doesn't apply to you. It applies
Yeah.
whether you're in manufacturing or you're in healthcare or you're in the office.
Mhm.
The lean applies to you. And actually, as I look through this, I know you're a manufacturer.
Yeah.
But just looking at your assessment here, really every single one of these chapters that you have in your book here apply no matter what industry you're in.
Yeah,
It
it
doesn't
doesn't
matter. It's
matter.
all about leadership. It's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and it just has a lean bend because, that's kind of like I do feel like in order to lead a lean organization, you have to be a very servant leadership. And that is a huge mind shift for people because,
Yeah.
the people on the floor are the ones adding value to the customer and they're the most important people. You're at your expense. You know what I mean? Unless you're actually creating product too, you're just expense and non-value. And so you should be out on the shop floor trying to make their lives easier so they can produce more efficiently and they can produce with less defects and they can go home and their shoulders don't hurt or their arms don't hurt or their back doesn't hurt because they're not dealing with a crappy process. And yeah, I mean it's really different. Like, you mentioned the 2 second lean thing, right? I think 2 second lean is a great way for companies to start. I just feel like there's so much more value in just looking at two things: burden and flow. And if you
Mhm.
just go out into your shop floor and look for where the product stops and figure out how to get it moving without stopping, and then start looking at your people and what they're doing. And, if somebody's lifting over their head like this all day long, find a way to make them lift here. You know what I mean? Or if they're bending
Yeah.
down to pick something off a pallet on the floor, get a cart so they're not bending over. Start removing the burdens from your people and you'll start to see efficiencies, and then start getting your product flowing and you'll see efficiencies. And then from there, you can start to pull people in with morning meetings and coaching and training and all that stuff. But, I'm not caught up on somebody making a 2 second improvement every day or they're going to get fired. I mean, eh, it's just not who we are.
Right.
It's great if someone has a great improvement idea, let's go. But if you don't have an improvement idea, that's okay. As long as you're not, actively trying to sabotage the culture, look, we can grow you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, that's I think that's all, so relevant, and it really is that simple. I mean, at
Mhm.
the end of the day, whether you're identifying a burden or you ask your team, like, what
Yeah.
you
What
know
sucks?
what problems do you have, or
Yeah.
what do you hate about your job, or what's
Yeah.
causing you problems, and then just start going after those things. Like, it's
Yeah.
that easy,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
people will appreciate it, and the payback, it will be there.
yeah, it's like Art Burns, the lean turnaround. They just showed up with Japanese consultants and immediately would start tearing stuff apart. Immediately. They weren't worried about building a culture. They were worried about improving the process. And then all the people would buy in because they're like, oh my gosh, my job's so much easier now. I
Right.
hated that. And this is so much better. So there's two different ways to kind of go about that. And I think both are okay. You can go with the 2-second approach if that's what you want, or you can go with a more aggressive approach with Kaizen events. But you're going to have to do both if you want to be a world-class business. I mean, you have to make lots and lots and lots and lots of improvements. And you really have to be an exceptional example if you really want to be there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. I like that you said that. It's that you really need to do both. But starting out, just start out with some simple things. And then, as you say I can't remember what chapter it was, but become a lean expert,
Yeah.
listen to podcasts,
Yeah.
read some books like this one, talk to people, go visit, tour a few places that are doing lean.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be world-class lean. Anybody that's
Yeah,
just
it's fun.
working on continuous improvement, talk
Mhm.
to them about the challenges, and then just get started, right?
Yeah.
Don't wait. Don't try to look for perfection. Just get started with a few things and it'll
Uh-huh.
pay off big time.
Yeah. I mean, you'll go on tours and you'll get there and you might be disappointed because you thought it was going to be better than it was. I can learn from anywhere. So at that point, I just started asking them what their struggles are, and then we just talk about their struggles, and you learn a bunch from that. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah, there's just so much. There's so much that you can do to really grow. Yourself, change yourself,
Yeah,
and once you start to change yourself, everyone around you is going to be willing to change as well because you're setting the example.
absolutely. Well, I'm excited to dive into the rest of your book, Brian. I can't wait. I wanted to get into it last week and I wasn't able to, unfortunately, but I'm looking forward to getting through these chapters. I'm a lifelong learner, so I can't wait to dive in here and just look at this. And as I said before, this book, anyone that comes to the Lean Solutions Summit, you're going to receive this book in your summit bag, along with many other amazing things. And Brian will be there. We actually have an author showcase where Brian will be there to sign this book, along with Mike Rother, Dr. Jeffrey Liker, Katie Anderson, Billy Ray Taylor, John Dyer, myself. I mean, so many other authors that are going to be in attendance at the summit, that will be available to sign books. So you will have a bookstore. You can grab a book. Obviously, you'll have Brian's for free, and you'll be able to kind of pull up a chair and chat with a couple of the authors and get your book signed. But the cool thing is right now we actually have an offer going for, I think it's 30% off if you use code Catalyst 2025. Now, I think this episode we're recording, I think it's going to air next week. So this special pricing should still be available. Code Catalyst 2025. That's 30% off the pricing to come to the summit in Detroit. It's going to be amazing. Obviously, we're going to have some amazing speakers like Brian, but we also have a couple of really good tours. The Rouge, the Ford Rouge factory. We're going to be touring that. We're also going to be touring Zingerman's, Menlo. We got our lean world competition, 4 teams competing against each other for the trophy and bragging rights until next year. So many cool things. We got some great speakers. So you're not gonna want to miss this year's Lean Solutions Summit in Detroit, Michigan. We're right at the airport, so it's easy in, easy out for those that are outside the state. And it's just going to be a great experience. Brian, I'm excited to see you there with your team. You guys are actually competing in the Global Lean competition, right?
I don't know that we're signed up, but we're game. We'll do it.
Oh yeah, you guys are going to kill it.
Yeah.
It's going to be really fun this year. I can't give any details. We change up the competition every year, but each of the 4 teams will get the same information, and they're going to compete against each other. And the cool thing about this year is, the last couple of years we've had a product that we built as part of the competition, and then at the end of it, we took it apart, loaded it into a truck, and sent it back. This year, we're actually going to donate the output. I'm trying not to give too much away here. The output of the competition to a local nonprofit that works with the homeless in helping with transitional housing. So they'll be on site, and we'll be donating some pretty cool stuff, as part of the summit. So that'll be kind of a new addition to the summit this year. But we're excited to have your team there and part of it. Looking
Yeah,
forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. I'll be doing a breakout session, and I'm going to focus on developing your next line of leaders. Who's on deck, and how to bring them forward and get them some at bats.
So important, such an important topic, and right along with the theme, catalysts, developing the next generation of leaders. It's going to be a great event with a lot of really, really great networking and some great speakers like yourself. Brian, it's great to have you on the show for the first time. I'm excited to have you back again. Maybe next time we pick a chapter and we dive in a little bit deeper. Maybe I think I didn't share 8, 9, or 10, which are actually I love 10. So maybe we'll dive in and get
chapter
into
9. Chapter 9 is my best chapter.
Chapter 9. Okay, let's do that. We'll get you back on the show.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Let's see what was on.
I've had, the people have really enjoyed this. People have really enjoyed this book, and the takeaways people have from it have been awesome. And I just tried to go at this a different way than a normal lean book. And I wrote dumb stories and funny stories, and I talk about my failures and some of my successes, but a lot of the failures. And they're so relatable because we've all been there, and we can all see ourselves in those same exact situations as leaders. And it's nice to know that other people are also having those same problems, and we can all adapt from it.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, Brian, hopefully everyone's coming to the summit, but if they're not coming to the summit, where can they get your book?
You can go to leanbydoing.com and you can pick it up there. I ship throughout the United States. If you're international, you can get it right through Amazon Print Services, and you can get it delivered anywhere in the world. And at this point, about 50% of my books have been international, which is actually pretty cool. Nice. And I have a pretty big audience that is in the UK and Ireland, and they become great friends of mine. And I'm an honorary Irish person.
Wow. Okay. We should talk after the recording here. I'd like to know how to get that.
Yeah.
No, we'll throw that in the show notes. So again, if you can't make it to the summit and you want to grab Brian's book, you can go to the show notes and you'll find a link to grab that book. And also, I know Brian's very active on LinkedIn. So if you're not already subscribed to his podcast, make sure you do that. And make sure you're following him on LinkedIn as well. Where do they get subscribed to your podcast, or how do they find it?
The easiest way to do it is either go to YouTube or go to leanbydoing.com, or go to YouTube and search Lean by Doing. Pretty easy to find. Also, we're moving into a new facility in the 1st of September. So we're going to start tours up again in October, and you don't want to miss it. I mean, it's going to be absolutely world-class. And, people are going to travel from everywhere to see what we're doing, because we've made some really, really big strides.
Nice. We should have set that up for a tour for the summit, but we'll get it another year. We'll get there. Either way, we're definitely coming to check it out. And for anyone else that wants to do that, make sure you reach out to Brian. If you can get into the Kalamazoo area, you can go see his facility, and it's definitely worth the tour. So go do it. Sure. Brian, again, thanks for being on the show, and I appreciate it. I will see you in just a couple weeks at the summit.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, Brian.
See ya.